Yeah, so as promised, today's little edit I'm going to be doing an overview of the situation at Richards Bay as it presented itself on our last trip up there. On the second day, really quiet day. It was very calm. There was no wind, very low glass. Fish was very quiet, although we did spot one swimming along the surface, and that will be in the video later. But I'm going to use this opportunity to sketch out how the whole system works there, and to show you how the water was affected in the week running up to us going up to Richards Bay and then Sodwana. And then also just to give you an overview of the Thermocline off Richards Bay. This is something which I'm going to cover a lot more of in the future when we go up there in the next week or so. I want to do a lot more filming on it and just try and explain it to you in more depth, and to give you a better understanding of how this whole system works. It's super important in finding fish in the Richards Bay area, and I think it'll be very pertinent to the Sodwana situation as well. It's just something which you have to work on a little bit, and the more I get time out on the water up in Sodwana, the more I'll be able to figure it all out there. So this is an overview of the whole situation, and just to give you an understanding, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, just as a preamble to some of the work with the Thermocline, I just wanted to show you what transpired in the week leading up to the competition at Sodwana regarding the wind, and also off Richards Bay, because it affects them both ways. This is an image which was taken the week before I went up to Sodwana, and it was really good fish off Richards Bay, and the guys were doing really well. So I'm just going to flick through this just to show you how the situation changed. Right, so this was the image the week before we went up to Sodwana and to Richards Bay. And you can note that the current's right up against the coast. There's really good blue water, good chlorophyll, or low chlorophyll, so the water's clean, and the guys were smashing the fish the week before we went up. And then obviously the south, we had a south the day that we were out, the first day, and well, the second day it actually came through, and then obviously the 2 days south that we had on the Tuesday and Wednesday while at Sodwana, which had a huge effect. And I'll take you to those images. Oops, let me just go back. And then this was the image post the 2 days of southwesterly which occurred while we were in Sodwana, and you can see what's happened and how this is actually fish track. Those are fish track images. I cannot get the buoy with the images because they're outdated now, and you can't get archival footage. But these were the images from fish track 2 days after the southwest blew on the Tuesday and Wednesday. And you can see how it's absolutely broken that current up and destroyed the water. You can see that due to your surface friction, it's pushed this current all the way up, as the currents are actually driven by wind around the world. And our northeaster is what sets this current down from the Mozambican Channel and brings the Sagales current down. And the southwest obviously does exactly the opposite. It just puts the brakes on and rolls it up. It's actually quite incredible to see the way this whole thing has just been turned and pushed up the coast. And this, you can see the discoloration. That's your blue water. If you looked at a chlorophyll image, you would see that would be much cleaner water. And this is your mixed water here, and this is why these blues turn off, because of this mixing of the water. You can see how speckled this is. It's not very good. Yeah, and that turns the fish off completely. The blues hate this discolored water, so they would have gone back into that water, I would imagine, because they just vanish overnight. It's quite incredible. So fortunately Sodwana is a little bit closer to the water gets there first, so they have a better shot at it. I mean, they're down here, so that's a long way out. I mean, that's way over the 1,000, so they wouldn't even have a fish in this area now, you know. So yeah, that has a massive effect on what happens off our coast. Yeah, and this is the buoy weather image, but this is on the 19th of November, so you can see the northeast was starting to blow, and it was starting to push this tongue back down again. So this image is from the 19th of November, which is 5 days after we got back, and you can see the current starting to set back in again, with the northeasters blowing down the coast. Starts to push that current back in. This is your clean blue water and your warmer water. And there's one other image. Let me just flick across, and that's a day later. You can see it's starting to push in even further. So yeah, the wind has a huge effect on the conditions. And this is off Richards Bay. You can see where we had to go out probably 800 to the 800 meter line to find the water. This will push in with time, the northeaster, it'll push in right up against the coast. Whereas Sodwana, you can see the water is a lot closer here. You don't have this cold water, which is actually caused by a wedge, which gets forced in by the southwest. That actually drives this cooler water up against the coast and pushes our water further out. Whereas at Sodwana, it takes a little bit longer. They obviously get better water before Richards Bay. So they will. So the moment the fish starts to turn on there, we know, within a week or so, it's going to be with us. It depends on how long this water takes to come down the coast and how much northeast and obviously southwest that you get in that period. But it's super interesting to see how quickly this can happen, and how much of an effect it has. I mean, this was the week before, and this would have been just a couple of days later. And it's absolutely destroyed the water. So yeah, it's stuff that you have to pay attention to, and it's much easier if you live in that area just to wait for your conditions to be right to pop in there. And if you schedule a competition and you get this kind of thing happen, it's just tough luck, It's really difficult to find fish. You can see up at Sodwana here, they've still got a reasonable amount of water, but down at Richards Bay there's absolutely nothing. Okay, so this is an image today, the buoy weather image, sea surface temperature today, and I know the south's been blowing, or did start blowing yesterday, so you can see how this wedge has been driven back up again, and you can see how that water which I showed you earlier has already receded. Yeah, so this happens very quickly. I think they've got another day of south today, which is going to disturb the water even more, and will push this cold wedge further out and push the water further away from Richards Bay. Just to show you another image, which is of more interest, I just want to zoom out to get out of here. This is a current image, which is super important for our area, Richards Bay area. Let's see if I can get this zoomed in. This is the image of the current at the moment, and you can see what's happened. You can see the southwesterly driving up against the current and pushing this current back. You can see exactly what's happening here. What also happens, and this is why the current disappears, because of the southwest and the surface friction. This is obviously today's image, so it'll probably be yesterday basically with the south blowing, which will get worse. I'm sure this current will go up even more if I show it to you tomorrow. But something of interest, because of the current coming past Maputo and down the coast and hitting off the Richards Bay area, basically it's in Lucia, Richards Bay, you can see the compression which happens against the coast, and it acts like a venturi. At the moment, Sodwana's got sort of 1.5 knots of current. But if you came down towards Richards Bay, and this current is actually very weak at the moment due to the southwesterly slowing this current down. But when you've got a driving northeaster, this compression which happens against the coast here is far more pronounced. And then you will find that we get 4.5 knots of current down here, where Sodwana will have a knot or two. And this is going to affect your thermocline. Your thermocline basically is on the edge of your separation zone, or your compression zone, which is on your 200 meter line and your 500, basically on your shelf. So your thermoclines here are going to be much less visible and less pronounced as what they're going to be down in Richards Bay, which is what we find, and that's why they're so important. It's going to be interesting over time to see the effect. Now, the more condensed your thermocline is, the steeper it is, and the stronger the current it is, the more condensed your fish are in that area, as opposed to up north where you have no current, where the thermocline will be spread and much softer and have a slower gradual gradient. Down here, your gradient is going to be really steep and more condensed, and you're going to have stronger current lines, so your fish basically line up a lot better on those edges, which makes it easier to fish. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of background on how this works and why it's so important. And these are kind of tools that we use a lot, and to check where the current is and where it's strongest and where your separation zones, your compression zones are the most pronounced, because those are going to compress your fish into those areas and make it much easier to find them. Anyway, I'll do a bit more of this when we have better examples, and I'll probably take photographs and keep them and then show you what it looks like in the future. But that's just a preamble for the moment, and hopefully this will help you understand a bit more of what happens with the current and the winds and watercolor, chlorophyll, etc., etc. So yeah, the northeast is super important to the system, and I think this year is going to be really good because we had the northeasters start very early in the season, and I think we're going to have a really good season in comparison to the previous 2 years, which were pretty dismal. Right, let's go and jump on the boat and see how that second day worked out off Richards Bay, and see how the Thermocline showed on the echo sounder, and just to give you a basic setup of how we work there.
Yeah, good morning, another early launch. The sun's just climbing behind the clouds. Beautiful morning, the sea looks flat. Bit of a west coming up later. Yeah, it's looking great for the day. So we'll have to see what the day brings. Morning to the boss, the back here. Good, happy days. Guns are loaded again. Phew. And goose flesh running out here. Ski boats running out here as well. Now the view from the office. Up in the most favourite place for sure. I get goose flesh every time I come up here. Insane view on the good ship Rampage. I don't know how much you can see with the GoPro, but the lure's running. It's a magnificent morning. The barrow is super low. It's going to, the wind's going to go into the west today, to the southwest. Not too strong apparently. I'm waiting for that to happen because normally that's the rise of your glass in the fish bites. We've got high tide already and it's been super quiet. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful day. If you ever wanted to put a box on fishing is to come up here with this many cameras and stuff like that, but yeah, hopefully it happens. Been a couple of fish around, so it's got to plough the field and hopefully we run into one. Magnificent view from up on the tower here. It's insane to see fish come in if you get an early warning. Amazing to see these fish come in and feed. What have we got there? 24.9 degrees. It's going up slightly. So we're coming north. We're coming into our main area now. So hopefully we're going to get a little ring ting ting. Marlin, here's a Marlin on the surface. Here's a Marlin swimming next to us. Dion!
Now if you look carefully in the middle of the picture there now, you can see the trail from the tail of the Marlin as it moves along the surface.
Dion! There's a fish! Dion! There's a fish there on the right here. The fish swimming on the surface. There's his tail sticking out. Check him funding along the surface here. Here he's turning towards us. Yeah, he's here. He's here. He's going to come onto the lures now. It's not normally a good sign. They normally, when they like that, they fed and they were swimming away from us. Normally they'll come pretty quickly. So it doesn't look like he's interested. So yeah, I'm going to do a turn here. The fish was definitely looked like a striped marlin. Could be wrong. Get around here. You just don't want to be in the turn that your lures go slack. I don't know if you're going to see that on the GoPro, but I'm going to get around onto him there. Taking a guess now where he was. You can see where our track was there. It's just on the inside of us. It's about where this wake is coming across the front of us now. I'll switch on if we go tight. I was just starting to say how privileged I am to be able to do this, and out of the corner of my eyes saw that fin sticking out of the water. Fish was just ambling along. It's not normally a good sign. Sometimes they'll come, but when they're finning on the surface, it's normally when they're fed and they're digesting. and they just cruise on the surface. But it looked like a stripey. It looked like a smaller Marlin, so I'm going to do a few turns in the area and see if we can't get him up again. But he started to come towards the boat and then just faded away, so we'll just have to see what happens. Just going to work the area here, but same depth we got that raised the fish yesterday that didn't hook up. Now, such a pity that fish didn't come in. It started to turn and come in and then it just faded, so I thought you were in for such a photo opportunity because you'd be ready and waiting, but life's not always the way you plan it. Anyway, it was great to see it funning along the surface. It's in the same area we got the fish yesterday, so yeah, we just got to hang here, and I think when the southwester comes through and this barrow starts to go up, we might get some bites. Okay, I don't know how much you can see on there. This is our wild area. Really, I can't even see in the screen at the moment. Hopefully you can see it. And I'll show you the thermocline as we come up over it here. You can see it lighting on the bottom. There's a thermocline here which is unbelievable and produces probably 90% of the fish in Richards Bay. You see it just starting to read a little bit now, starting to scratch on the top. Just starting to scratch. See the other one starting to drop away. You can see this one starting now. It will come absolutely solid. Incredible area this. See it starting to come up now. I hope you can see that. It's starting to read now. It'll go absolutely red and then drops away. Now I switched off for a second just to allow it to thicken up, and you can see what it looks like. You can see we're heading out now. We're going over the apex now. And it'll drop away. I'll switch it on just now when it drops away. And now you can see it dropping away. I don't know how much you can see on this. It's very difficult to see with my glasses on. But anyway. Different. So much reflection. The southwesterly just starting to blow now. So we'll see. If something turns on here, we should get a bit of white water on the surface, and hopefully things liven up a little bit. I'll show you, there's the thermocline. Now maybe see better. See, I'm turning in now. And yeah, going back in, so start to come back up again. This is the main area, as you can see by the marks we've got here. Basically stopped marking this area because it's the main G-spot for sure. John's going full bunger now. He's sticking out the mud flaps as well. There's only 3 of us on the boat. There's going to be a shitload of work to be done here. Anyway, well, if we get a fish on, who cares? I don't know how much of that you can see. Sure, that's that thermocline coming up, and you can see it's on the ozone. Seriously good area this.
Yeah, if you enjoyed the video on the thermocline and its effects and how it works with Richards Bay, be sure to tune in the next couple of episodes where I'll be covering some more of this in detail. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining us.